Eye on South Asia is brought to you by Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo, together we'll go far.
Welcome back to Eye on South Asia. Sanjeev, let's talk about the 2 Indian Americans among 15 White House fellows that have been chosen.
Right. The President's Commission on White House Fellowship announced the appointment of the 2012-13 class of White House fellows, among them 2 physicians of Indian origin. Now this, I guess, not too many people knows about this, White House Fellowship. This was actually started by President Lyndon B. Johnson in 1964. The mission is to give promising American leaders first-hand high-level experience with the workings of the federal government and to increase their sense of participation in national affairs.
Exactly. And the first candidate that we have here is Dave Chokshi of Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Right.
And they're both physicians. And the second person we have is Dr. Anand Veeravagu of Palo Alto, California.
Right.
So to be selected as this fellow is highly competitive. It's based on a record of professional achievement, and it's mainly emphasizing leadership. And they want to position these people in senior levels in the federal government.
Yep.
And these fellows have been chosen from various different areas, such as government, business, media, medicine, and the military. So many different areas.
True.
This time we have 2 physicians.
Right. And the experience that fellows get includes an education program designed to broaden their knowledge of leadership, policy formulation, and the current affairs, and the participation in the service project throughout the year in the Washington area.
Exactly.
Yep.
So do we want to talk about the 2 candidates just a little bit?
Sure. Choksi, like you say, Mr. Dave Choksi is a primary care physician with interest in public health and innovation in healthcare delivery. And he has written extensively on medicine and public health journals, including the New England Journal of Medicine, JAMA, Health Affairs, and Nature. So he's a Rhodes Scholar, though.
Yes.
So I think, the selection process, this White House committee that goes through to select, 15 White House fellows, it's really, really, they go into deep in verifying this fellows' credentials, their background, their history, what they have done for their community, also what they have achieved, their skills and everything. Then they qualify to be part of these White House fellows.
Excellent. And on the other hand, we have Dr. Veeravagu. He's a neurosurgeon. He's training in Stanford University School of Medicine, and he's served as chief resident at the Palo Alto Veterans Hospital. And it's mainly catering to soldiers that are returning from Afghanistan.
Right, and he's focused on advancing minimally invasive diagnostic and surgical techniques for disease of the central nervous system. So good luck and congratulations to both of them.
Congratulations. All right, so our next story is...
Another congratulations.
Yes. Our next story is about an appointment to the Obama administration, and this is regarding the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts.
Right.
And he has appointed the Indian American Ramesh Wadhwani. Am I saying his name correct?
Yeah, Ramesh Wadhwani.
Wadhwani. All right, so they have announced 9 members on the board of trustees for the prestigious John F. Kennedy Center, and these people are, dedicated to bringing on kind of a new leadership to this.
An experience, a lot of experience.
Exactly.
Yep.
So Wadhwani is actually the founder and chairman, CEO of Symphony Technology Group.
Right.
And he is also the CEO of several software and IT companies.
Yep. He's actively involved in Kennedy Center initiatives, having served as co-chair of the Maximum India Festival in 2011 and as a supporter of the 2011 Honors Gala.
Exactly. So congratulations to all of these new appointments to the Obama administration. It certainly serves him well as the election season is going into full force.
That's right.
So
And I think our congratulatory messages continue. But anyway, you
Yes.
take a lead in this story.
Yes.
This is a quite interesting story.
So we have our beloved Indian American astronaut, Sunita Williams.
Yep.
She has taken her 5th spacewalk,
Yes.
and she went with the Japanese astronaut Akiko Hoshide. And they went on almost a record space flight for 8 hours and 17 minutes. And they were actually going on this spacewalk for kind of doing a repair on a power distributor. And so there were some technical difficulties that they wanted to replace some switches and bolts and that sort of thing. They had some successes and some failures that they would need to come back and revisit.
Right.
I think it's interesting to see different countries coming together, partnering in going on these space missions.
But it was quite a successful trip. Sunita Williams, daughter of an Indian-American father from Gujarat and a Slovenian mother, Williams holds 3 records for female space travelers. Longest space flight, that's 195 days. The number of spacewalks, 5. This is what you mentioned earlier, right? 5th
Yes.
spacewalk. And the total time spent on a spacewalks, 29 hours and 17 minutes.
Wow.
During her first space journey in 2006. So from 2006 to 2012, in the 6 years, this is her 5th spacewalk. And with her counterpart, Japanese astronaut Miss Akiko Hoshide, right? What they have achieved is quite remarkable.
It's remarkable,
Right.
yes. And we should also mention that Sunita Williams is the 2nd Indian-American woman who's been selected by NASA to go on these space missions
Right.
after Kalpana Chawla.
Right, yep. And speaking of the station, because many viewers must be wondering, what is this station all about? The station, a project of 15 countries that flies about 250 miles above Earth. Okay, is staffed by rotating crews of 6 astronauts and cosmonauts, and used for dozens of medical, material science, physics, and other experiments.
Yes, it's very interesting to note that a lot of the technologies that are built for space travel and the space stations end up being used for these
Right,
purposes and
exactly.
sciences and stuff. So that's great news.
You should be stationed up there.
I know. I think we should both go.
At least you go first, and I'll follow.
You want to see if I'll actually make it up there, right? All right, so let's move on to another interesting story, but not so positive. A Detroit area
Well, we stop with
man-
our congratulatory messages
Yes,
now.
we're going to stop right there, and we're going to go on with
This
the...
is another healthcare
the fraud
fraud.
cases.
This is another healthcare fraud, really.
So Jawad Ahmad has been charged, and he has pleaded guilty in Detroit to 1 count of conspiracy to commit healthcare fraud.
Right.
He had a company called Physicians Choice Home Healthcare LLC, and they have been paid kickbacks to recruiters who basically obtained Medicare benefits, and this was using false patient records.
Right.
They just falsified patient information across the board.
For 13.8 million healthcare fraud, Jawad Ahmed could face a maximum potential penalty of 10 years in prison and 250,000 fine when he is sentenced on November 28.
Yes. So 8 others have been in this case as well. They've also pleaded guilty, and I believe Ahmad was in another physician's company, another healthcare company back in Phoenix, where he used to live, and he was involved in a similar scandal there as well.
And also 8 other defendants have pleaded guilty in the same case, among them Tausif Rahman and Muhammad Ahmed of Physician's Choice, as well as Dr. Dwight Smith of Phoenix Visiting Physicians, have each pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to commit healthcare fraud.
It's interesting to note, I've noticed more of these healthcare fraud stories come out more in the recent years with the economic downturn?
Oh, well, I can tell you, many doctors have been involved. There was a couple from Texas, I think Mr. and Mrs. Kumar, if I am not forgetting, they were involved. A few doctors from Detroit, they have been involved. A few from New Jersey. So I believe California is not left out, and maybe Chicago. So everywhere, these Indian American doctors or South Asian doctors have really, really been part of this healthcare fraud.
Right.
And the stories
whether
keep
it's
coming out.
administrators or
Yeah.
the doctors.
Yep.
So that's very unfortunate. And
True.
it seems to be a pattern that I've noticed from the tough economic times.
That's right.
Could be. There was actually a golden age for doctors.
Exactly.
So this is certainly not that. But,
and I think in relation to that, I think, to end this segment, we can just bring in a story of Indian constitutional law course at Columbia.
Exactly. So just to have students understand the Indian constitutional law and how it relates to contemporary political theory and democracy and several other issues, they're bringing in a new Indian constitutional law at Columbia University.
Right.
And this is being taught by Professors Sudhir Krishnaswamy and Jagdish Bhagwati.
Jagdish Bhagwati is a very well-known name in the community. Very, very learned, intelligent person. Very well-known name. So they'll be teaching a class entitled Indian Constitutional Law class, which is new and open to auditors in Columbia University.
Yes, and they're going to be reading the entire Indian Constitution. So that should be very interesting.
This is something, I mean, it's the first time I heard that, another country's law can be taught at school. I mean, I don't know. I know why Indian constitutional law. Is it just for knowledge? Is it just for...
I mean, how they plan for it to benefit students, I mean, is it part of the law curriculum, or is it kind of an
like when it
elective course?
says it's going to be open for auditors. So I guess maybe the auditors, U.S. accounting firms, auditors or whatever, they need to know more about this law while they review books, financial books, or advise their clients in India. I guess that must be the reason.
Right. Well, either way, it sounds interesting if anyone wants to actually learn about Indian constitutional law.
Right.
So they can take this course.
Exactly.
All right, so we're going to take another short break.
Yes.
And we'll be right back on Eye on South Asia.
Eye on South Asia is brought to you by Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo, together we'll go far.